classification of organic compounds. How do we classify organic compounds according to their structures? So the first organic compound we look at is aliphatic compounds. Aliphatic. So they are a class of organic compounds in which the carbon atoms are arranged in an open chain. They are open chain organic compounds. So we'll see how they are. So they could either be a straight or branched chain. A straight or branch chain. They contain single or multiple bonds, that is double or triple bond. So the things to take note of is they are open chain, they are straight or branched chain, and they have single or double bonds. So we mentioned that aliphatic compounds are compounds which are open chain. So this is an open chain, but it is branched. So you can see the arrow below heading towards your left and upwards. So that's how a branched chain looks like. So over here we can compare a linear chain or a straight chain from a branched chain. So what you have on our left is the linear chain, what you have on our right is the branch chain. So another aliphatic compound with double bond. Let's move on to the next one. So the second one we are moving to is the alicyclic compound. Alicyclic compounds, they are a class of organic compounds. They have both aliphatic and then cyclic structure. So alicyclic, as the name implies, cyclic, cycle. So we're going to see how a cyclic compound looks like. They may contain double bonds too. So alicyclic compounds, first of all, what distinguishes the alicyclic compound from the aliphatic one is they are cyclic. But the alicyclic has straight chains. So let's see how they look like. Okay, so I wanted us to do a comparison here. What you have on top is the aliphatic and it's a straight chain. What you have below is an alicyclic. It has both straight chains and then branch chain. So you can see the alicyclic, the one below, with each single bond, hydrogen single bonds on the carbon. That's what forms the straight chain. But you can see that it's forming a ring. So where you see a ringed organic compound, is an alicyclic compound. And we indicated that it could have single bond, so just a single bond. Yes, so that's alicyclic compound. So the next one we look at is aromatic compounds. Aromatic compounds. So they are compounds that are composed of hydrogen and carbon that has alternating double bonds, forming a ring. So the aromatic, it forms a ring, alright, but the double bonds alternate. So you have a double bond here, a single bond here, a double bond here, a single bond here. Let's see how it looks like. So this is an aromatic compound. You have alternating double bonds. Alternating double bonds. So the one on the left or the one on the right is an aromatic compound. Now, this is a chemical structure of benzene. So it's the same thing we saw in the previous picture. Image 1, image 2, and image 3. With image 1, you see that they alternate. This is a benzene structure. Image 2 also has a circle in the middle. So when you see that, it should just tell you that it's a benzene structure with alternating double bonds. Then image 3 as well. They are the same. Heterocyclic compounds. Now heterocyclic compounds, they are cyclic compounds having one or more atoms other than carbon in at least one of its rings. So heterocyclic is an alicyclic compound, but has some things which differentiate it from the alicyclic. That is, they have atoms which could be sulfur, oxygen, or nitrogen. If you see an alicyclic compound which has sulfur, oxygen, or nitrogen, then it is a heterocyclic compound. So let's see some structures which have sulfur, oxygen, or nitrogen. So these are heterocyclic compounds. They are all, as I mentioned, they are all alicyclic, but they have either sulfur, nitrogen, or oxygen. And their names are a mouthful. Yes, that's what makes organic chemistry interesting. Okay, so before we close the video, I have a little test for you where I drew the structures myself. So there are 4 structures, 4 groups of the structures I just explained. So what you do is you just have to indicate their names by remembering the definitions or the descriptions I gave for each of them. So let's look at that. So looking at our first structure over here, or structures, we are being told to classify the organic compound. So A, B, and C are in the same class. A, B, and C for the second one as well. Number 3, A, B, and C are in the same class. And number 4, we just have one structure, this or that. So from what we have learned, we learned that aliphatic compounds are organic compounds in which the carbons are either straight or branched. We learned that with alicyclic compounds, the molecules consist of closed or ring carbon atoms, and then the rings are usually made up of single bonds or double bonds. Then with heterocyclic, we said the molecules consist of closed rings of carbon, and they include either oxygen, nitrogen, or sulfur. Then with the aromatic compounds, we mentioned that they are compounds which contain one or more benzene rings, and we mentioned what benzene rings are. So let's look at the first one. Looking at the first one, we have a single bond, double bond, and a triple bond, and some of them are straight, some of them are branched. So looking at it, since we have single bond, double bond, and triple bond, the first one is an aliphatic, or they are aliphatic compounds. The first one, they are aliphatic compounds. Now looking at the second one, we have carbon, we have hydrogen. Looking at the second one, we have carbon, we have hydrogen, we have sulfur. There's sulfur here, there's oxygen here, there's oxygen here. So they are closed rings as well. So which one does it satisfy? There's sulfur, there's oxygen, and there is okay, we don't have nitrogen there, but nitrogen is part. So what I mean by nitrogen is part, nitrogen is part of heterocyclic compounds, but we don't have nitrogen here. But we have sulfur here, we have oxygen here, we have sulfur here. So the second one is a heterocyclic, or they are a group of heterocyclic compounds. Heterocyclic. So we have 2 more. We have alicyclic and aromatic. Alicyclic. So looking at this one, for example, this is a cycloalkane. This is also a cyclo, but this is not an alkene. It's an alkene because double bond. Over here to double bond. So the third one here is an alicyclic compound. So this is alicyclic. Alicyclic. Now let's try to differentiate between alicyclic and heterocyclic. With alicyclic, they don't contain nitrogen, sulfur, or oxygen. But with the heterocyclic, they contain nitrogen, oxygen, or sulfur. So that's the little difference between the heterocyclic and alicyclic. Now with the fourth one, they are compounds which contains benzene ring. Yes, and we mentioned what benzene rings are. So the fourth one is an aromatic compound. Aromatic compound. So thank you for watching this video. I'll urge you to subscribe if you found this video helpful. Share with your friends. Leave a comment, say anything, and keep studying by yourself.